Not long ago, a 240Hz IPS gaming monitor would have seemed like a pipe dream, but not anymore. The Acer XV273X was the first 240Hz IPS screen to hit the market back when it launched a few months ago, and it's pretty much everything you'd hope for from a screen that can boast the best LCD panel type for image quality and that blisteringly fast 240Hz refresh rate. There is one big downside though, which is that you only get a 1920x1080 resolution, which is fairly low for a 27-inch display. That's the same resolution as most other 240Hz screens, but they tend to be smaller panels, so the pixels aren't so obvious. Ultimately though, that's just a compromise you'll have to make, and certainly it's a compromise I'd be willing to make for a screen that otherwise delivers so much. The design of the screen is fairly typical for a modern panel, with slim, low-profile bezels around the top and sides and a tiptoe base with solid metal legs. As ever, this type of base is a bit style over substance, as it isn't as secure as a flat square base, but it does look good, even if the little plastic section that covers the rotation mechanism looks a little bit weird. Speaking of rotation, you get all these standard ergonomic adjustments, so height, rotation, pivot and tilt are all on offer, making it easy to reposition the display and reach connections around the back. The stand can also be removed and a monitor arm used instead. When it comes to extra features, you don't get much here. There's no RGB, no headphone stand or anything of that sort. However, you do get a USB 3 hub with 2 ports on the side and 2 around the back, and for video connectivity you get a DisplayPort 1.2 and 2 HDMI 2.0. The power supply is also internal, so there's no annoying power brick, and you even get some basic speakers. The on-screen display for controlling the menus is more than up to the job. It's controlled by a mini joystick and 4 small but surprisingly easy to use buttons on the back of the right side of the panel. The top button is power, and then a tap of any of the other controls brings up an initial menu. The 3 buttons then jump straight into quick menu options for switching picture modes, adjusting brightness and changing input, while tapping the joystick will bring up the main menu. Here you've got comprehensive picture quality controls, clearly labelled gaming features such as overdrive, adaptive sync, VRB blur reduction mode and the obligatory crosshair overlays. It's all really intuitively laid out, it responds quickly and the controls are easy to use. Getting to that all-important picture quality then, and this IPS panel delivers the goods. Viewing angles are of course excellent and you get surprisingly good contrast for this type of panel. At maximum brightness and in its default warm colour mode, the colour temperature is indeed a bit too warm, but turn the brightness down to a more sensible 150 nits, which is about 15 out of 100 on this monitor's brightness scale, and the colour temperature is brought into line. You do inevitably get a bit of IPS glow, particularly in the bottom left corner. It's not a problem in most day-to-day use, but it's a little distracting when watching 21:9 aspect movies for instance, or playing particularly dark games. The surface of the screen is also a touch more reflective than some. Again, it's not something I found distracting in use, but technically the difference is there. When it comes to gaming, this screen delivers everything you'd hope for. The impact of moving from 144Hz IPS screens like the AOC 27G2U is immediately obvious, and you really get very close to the same snappy feel of 240Hz TN screens. Add in the better image quality of IPS and you have a really impressive gaming experience. Although rated for a 1 millisecond response time, this isn't a realistic figure for average real-world response time, and in fact, as TFT Central discovered, technically there are some instances where the response time of this screen can't keep up with its refresh rate. However, most of the time it does manage to keep up, and it's clear from Blurbuster's pursuit camera test that the XV273X is still much quicker to respond in real-world usage than 144Hz models. With both FreeSync and G-Sync supported as well, the result is a superbly smooth and responsive gaming experience. If you want to crank things up another notch, you can also enable backlight strobing blur reduction. As with most displays, this requires you to disable adaptive sync, which can result in a less smooth feel when gaming. However, you do get an even crisper, sharper looking image in fast motion. I tended to just leave adaptive sync on for most gaming sessions, but it's nice to have the blur reduction there for when you want that final speed advantage in the most competitive situations. All told then, this is a fantastic do-it-all display. It delivers great image quality, resolution aside, and top-tier gaming performance. Unfortunately, while at the time of its launch it was a standout product that was competitively priced, right now it's difficult to get hold of, and its roughly £450 or $490 asking price is looking a bit expensive, with several new competitors now available. If availability improves and you can pick it up for the right price though, it's a great screen.